think 2014 was an exceptional year for games, but there were definitely some awesome games that came out, and at least for my top 5, these are 5 games that I completely adored. One of the RPGs that I loved this year was Divinity Original Sin. I keep telling people this is what happens when a developer obviously really cares about what their fans want and actually delivers on all those different features. It's really clear that this game came out of a Kickstarter and that there was complete communication where fans were expressing their interest for an old school RPG format that we really don't see all that much of anymore. It's a game that is really unforgiving. It's extremely difficult, but it's because of that that it's so rewarding. I love the fact that I could get into these combat situations and I could just die over and over and over again because I hadn't optimized my party properly, or I wasn't using the environment to the best of my ability. It's extremely rewarding to be able to approach the same situation that you've seen 100 times before and then eventually get it out by making the right calls in that turn-based scenario. Divinity is just a quintessential PC RPG. Valiant Hearts was another game I really loved from this year. It was so emotional. It brought back all the feelings I had from my Game of the Year last year, which was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I also really loved how they were trying to be more than just offering a great gameplay experience. While the gameplay was awesome and the story was fascinating, they also put in this extra element where you could pick up items around the place and learn about the realities of the Great War and of wars in general. You got this real sense of the realities, the human elements of war from all these different perspectives. Valiant Hearts was a really fascinating game, and it's not something you get very often, and I think there's a lot of value in that. There were a lot of really awesome stories that were told through games this year, and Valiant Hearts is a really good example, but so is The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Now, the way that they told the story of this game is something I haven't seen anybody do before. It's a game that's really about exploration, which is good for me as a completionist who needs to go to every nook and cranny in the world. It wants you to venture all the way through that forest and find some tiny little stone which is connected to this huge overreaching story about this child and his family. The world is beautiful. It's one of the most incredible game worlds I've ever seen, and the unraveling of what is actually happening, what's happened to all these people, why are these murders and travesties occurring, and what's going on with Ethan Carter himself is a really interesting tale to see told. Obviously, Dragon Age Inquisition comes from this long line of awesome BioWare games, and this is probably the closest I felt like getting to a Mass Effect 2 BioWare experience from any other BioWare game. It really hits the mark on combining that customized experience, but not letting you get so lost in the world that you forget the story and you forget your relationships with the other companions and stuff like that. I think Skyrim and games like that can fall down a hole where you're just playing chase the marker, and while Dragon Age is full of different quests where you certainly do that, there's a real connection to what you're doing. Everything from sending out your emissaries, your diplomat, your spy on the world map to go pursue different things for the Inquisition, to getting into the world for yourself, getting into the combat and optimizing your character is one of the best things. I think it's very ambitious narratively for BioWare and for RPGs in general, and it is just a fascinating and beautiful world to explore. My favorite game of this year is Might and Magic 10. It's a series that I was super into as a kid. I probably played Might and Magic 6, 7, and 8 like 5 times a piece when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And the best thing about Might and Magic 10 is it is so unapologetically old school. It did these awesome things 15, 20 years ago. It delivered the same grid-based world and turn-based combat, and it's still doing it. Where we've seen so many other RPGs like desperately try and update themselves, we've seen the Mass Effect series get more and more action, we've seen Skyrim and Diablo also sort of cater themselves to an audience that isn't that interested in optimizing statistics all the time. Might and Magic is just like, screw it, we're gonna make a really complicated RPG. I had to restart this game a couple of times when I first got into it because it is so difficult, and if you don't make the right calls for your party, your attributes, your skills and everything like that, you're gonna have a really bad time. Might and Magic was the only game of this year that I just kept going back to every single time I had a spare second, a spare minute at home. I had to be playing this game. The Might and Magic series mastered what it was to be an RPG 20 years ago, and they're just proving they can still do the same thing and create an awesome experience.